Welcome to Swim Easy Speed. Today we're going to be doing a little bit different of an analysis. It's going to be on 4 athletes. And it's not going to be so much on stroke mechanics. We'll go over that a little bit, but it's going to be more on stroke tempo analysis. So what are the range of stroke tempos that work and are successful in open water? And I think some of it might surprise some people. And what we're going to be looking at are 3 athletes at the start who all compete in Ironman. 2 are professionals, 1's an age grouper, but who have all been first out of the water at Ironman events on multiple occasions. And the 4th one was the gold medal winner at the Rio 10K open water swim. And, you know, what we're going to take a look at is the range of tempos that are successful. So in this particular video, it's going to be as fast as 1.2 and as slow as about 2.0. So what I mean by that is it either takes 1.2 seconds to complete a full stroke cycle or 2 seconds to complete a full stroke cycle. And so you're looking at a range of like 50-ish strokes a minute for the 2.0. to about 100 plus for the 1.2. So, and that's what we're going to look at. And, you know, starting out, I think just to kind of give you some context, typically the front pack group at Kona is anywhere from about for the men, about 1.2 to about 1.5. For the women, it's, you know, kind of 1.1 to 1.3, 1.4 is typically the range. But, you know, there are kind of stroke tempos outside a little bit faster than that, a little bit slower than that are successful as well. And, you know, what it comes down to is that it's a very individualized kind of piece of the stroke. So let's just get started. We'll jump in with the first one. The first one's going to be Harry WILTSHIRE. So Harry swam with the team for, I think, about 4 or 5 weeks leading into Kona. He swam twice a day with the team. And so, you know, you can see here in his stroke, you know, it's a very, very fast, high turnover stroke. You know, windmill-like would be kind of the description. And, you know, for triathlon, this can solve some issues that are created by a number of things. So, you know, if you look here, really, it's all kind of a shoulder-driven stroke. So just if you kind of look at his shoulders here, the hips really aren't moving that much. He's got a pull buoy on, actually, in this video. And he actually swam most of the time with a buoy. You know, the places that this becomes why this starts to make a little bit more sense in a triathlon context. So the first would be if you're doing a lot of wetsuit swims, this stroke can make a little bit more sense. You know, you're not kicking, it's all shoulder driven. You know, you've got to have a little bit, you got to make sure that the wetsuit has a lot of flexibility in the shoulders for this to work. The part about it that works for triathlon is, you know, you're just dragging your feet there. He's not really kicking at all. You know, the wetsuit can make it difficult to get an effective kick because of how buoyant you are then on the water. And you're really out of position to effectively lever the water to kick. Now, some of the drawbacks of a high turnover stroke. If you don't generate a lot of power with this, and so you're trying to kind of make up for the lack of power with turnover to keep up with someone that's faster, that can present some issues if you know, there's a lot of current or if it's fairly choppy, where you may need to generate a little bit more current or a little bit more power, or if you have an athlete that can generate a lot of power and can pull away from you, because you can only tempo up so much. The other issue is that shoulder-driven strokes tend to put you a little bit higher risk for shoulder injuries. because you're basically just not sharing that load of pulling through the body with your whole body. It's just pretty much all isolated with your shoulders. So, there have been plenty of swimmers that have made this stroke successful. Kind of one of the more prominent ones would be Janet Evans, who had a very windmill-esque, not dissimilar to this kind of stroke. So the next one is a pro that I have worked with for a long time, BALAZS Choka. He's come out first out of the water at multiple Ironman events. He won Ironman Korea overall. That was his first pro win and first Ironman win. And his stroke tempo is about 1.5. So 0.3 of a second slower than Harry. Call that like 80, I think it's about 80, 85 strokes a minute, while Harry's kind of 100 plus. So this video was from some time when BALAZS swam with the team when he was living in the area, and he's going to be the one closest to the camera. BALAZS comes from a swim background. He was on the Hungarian junior national team in his early and mid-teens, and before he took up triathlon kind of full-time. So you can see, so here he comes. He's right there. BALAZS has got a little bit of longer stroke. You can see that hips and shoulders are both getting in on the pole, so it's kind of more connected through the core. And he's using his whole body to really pull through the water. This allows him to kind of use his kick a little bit more. He's got a little bit more stability. And so, that's kind of BALAZS' stroke. BALAZS has been, when he's been at Kona as a pro, typically within 10, 15 seconds of the first place guy coming out of the water. So before the swim at Kona got shortened up a little bit, he was, 51 minutes at Kona. So that kind of front pack. So the next athlete is Erin's an ex-college swimmer, distance swimmer. She's been first out of the water at Ironman VINEMAN and then Kona, and then a couple of her 70.3s, but I didn't really include those. And her stroke tempo is 1.7. She would have what a lot of triathletes would call a very pretty pool stroke, that supposedly wouldn't work well in open water swimming. And she was 51:30-ish at Kona, and she was the first place age group female out of the water by 2+ minutes. And that was after swimming through the male age group field and part of the women's pro field. So, you'll see kind of in her stroke a lot longer, tempo obviously slower. So this is kind of 65 strokes a minute in that range. And here we go. So you can see, really long kind of pull through the water. Hips and shoulders are both connected. She's got a nice 2-beat kick. She's really long, balanced on the water. And if you want a kind of an analysis of her stroke, I do a full analysis of the stroke on the YouTube channel. She was one of the first ones that I took a look at in the endless pool. So that's Erin's stroke, 1.7. So, just with these three athletes, you're seeing kind of a really wide range from 1.2 to 1.7 of tempos that are successful in open water swimming, and actually strokes that are successful in open water swimming. And ultimately what it comes down to is, the mechanics of the movement, the stroke tempo, those are all very individualized kind of things, and they can take a long time to arrive at what's most efficient for you. And quite frankly, they're always changing too. Typically what we want to work on is getting really good distance per stroke. So that kind of encompasses your strength and conditioning in the water, your mechanics, your technique. So you're balanced, you're long, you can really grab the water, have a great feel for the water. And then from there, what we want to do is start to then work on tempo. Because if we can hold that distance per stroke, and then start to tempo up, then you're going the same distance per stroke, but at a higher turnover. So yeah, you're faster. So this last one that we're going to look at is FERRY WEERTMAN, gold medal winner in the 10K in Rio. And you can see, he's got almost a catch-up stroke here. The tempo's 2.0, and it was really, really slow. Just a really kind of relaxed tempo. The interesting thing is that the conditions at Rio were pretty rough that year. They had a pretty big swell while they were out there. You can see right there, he's kind of, you can't even see him right there because the swell came up. So, contrary to popular belief, you don't have to maintain a high turnover to do well in open water. And, there it is again. He certainly kind of has a varying degrees of tempo throughout the race. But right there, it was 2.0. So this last kind of slide here, we're going to look at, someone put together kind of world-class tempos and stroke count ranges from the 1990s, then 2012, and then 2016. And if we look at kind of men's mile, so we're right there, you can see, in the 2016, it was successful, was 1.38 to 1.59. In the 90s, it was 1.4 to 1.54. In the 2012 cycle, it was 1.22 to 1.86. And then you can see the cycles, so that's how many stroke cycles are taken through one length of the pool. So in the mile, in the 90s, 19 to 20, 2012, 17 to 20, and then in 2016, 15 and a half to 19 and a half. And the big change in all of that is athletes really utilizing that underwater dolphin kick and extending out kind of how far they go before they would start swimming. And, you get 15 meters on off of each turn. So, you could take off a good chunk of the distance just doing underwater dolphin kick, and it can be incredibly effective and fast. And that's where a lot of some of it's in the suits from the 90s to now. Some of it's in the starting blocks with the fin that goes on the back. Those have been some of the big changes. Athletes have changed a little bit, but not dramatically. Stroke technique has changed a little bit, but not dramatically from the 90s to now. The big thing, and then you can go and look at kind of the tempo range for a fast 50 free. 2016, 0.87 to 1.01. The 90s, 0.9 to 1.07. So, effectively at that distance, you're 0.9 or you're not making it into the finals. 100 free is kind of a pretty narrow range as well. 200 free starts opening up a little bit, 400 free a little bit more, and then the mile a little bit more. So that's kind of some of the changes and some of the things that you want to think about when you're trying to improve your stroke. So as always, if anyone has any questions, please leave it in the comments section below, and I am happy to answer questions. Otherwise, like and share, and if you want to see another type of video or something else to analyze, just let me know. Thanks for tuning in.